And things are always an experiment for many reasons. Some of them are centered in that individual that we're trying to make suggestions for. Some of them are just centered in the fact that humans don't know everything, right? So we were talking about Schizandra before, and like one of the things, if we go to PubMed, right, and we search about Schizandra right now today, we're going to see a lot of stuff around potential herb-drug interactions because of some influences this can have on some liver enzymes. There's some indications it's kind of similar to grapefruit, where it might generally slow down drug metabolism. And that can be a problem just as much as accelerating drug metabolism the way that St. John's wort can do, particularly because now you might have that drug lingering in your system for longer than you expect. Guess what that means? You're probably going to get more side effects, right? So it's something to be aware of. And grapefruit, this is like totally extremely well proven, and not just in petri dishes, but in living people and all of that. Schizandra is an interesting case though, because that concept is out there in the medical literature. And so if you're going to be a clinical herbalist, you should be conversant with that. But is still some question about how much of those studies or that data does translate to the way people are working with Schizandra as herbalists, or as people drinking Schizandra kombucha, or
that sounds kind of good.
It is good. Yeah.
It is. There's a kombucha maker in central Massachusetts that makes a Schizandra kombucha.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, Schizandra is an extremely popular herb in South Korea. I have a number of students in South Korea because we have a number of students in South Korea because we teach for the pharmacy schools. It's one of the things we do. And so we teach pharmacists who are like in their 6th year of training, and they come hang out with us for 6 weeks, and we try to teach them herbalism, kind of like this is what your profession used to look like, and
that's cool.
Again, but we get a lot of students who are from South Korea, and they're very familiar with Schizandra under the name Omija. So I've been interested to look into to see what like South Korean scientists have to say about herb-drug interactions with Schizandra, because I feel like that could be a little more based in reality, right?
Yeah, where it's so much more commonly a part of their like diet, soda, but whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. But these kind of things are necessary whenever we look at information from science about herbs, right? It's like there's the study itself, there's like the report that they wrote about it, there's the abstract of that report, there's the press release that the university puts out based on the abstracts, there's the news service like Eureka Alert or whatever that does a short summary of that, right? We're several levels away from the original thing. And so it's very easy for that stuff to get misinterpreted or overinterpreted or misapplied or whatever. And so again, herb-drug interactions is just part of your life as a clinical herbalist.
Especially today.
There's very few people who aren't going to be on any medications at all. You'd be very limited in what you could do if that was a barrier to your practice. But you also you don't want to dismiss it. And I get a little anxious when I see people who are kind of like writing off these concerns like as a blanket statement, right?
It's unfortunate because sometimes a scientific study comes out and like all this shocking whatever, and it wasn't well done, and it turns out that information is in fact not relevant.
Like it might be relevant if you take an extract of a single compound from an herb and you get a whole syringe full of it and inject it into your stomach. That might cause cancer for you, but eating that herb is completely safe.
Totally
right?
safe.
This is like calamus and sassafras.
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
exactly right.
So it's unfortunate that happens, because then when there are also studies that also have like what Schizandra has drug interactions, like is this crying wolf or is this real? Like you just have to check it every time without a bias.
Yeah.
It's part of the thing that we talk a lot about in our herb drug interaction course is, well, first off, how to do this research, but also just how to approach the research, not with your emotions.
Yeah. And even like, what are the questions you're actually trying to answer?
Yeah.
And
listen, if like that scientific work around calamus, for example, where that study that talks about, or around sassafras also, where they're like, oh, well, this could be a carcinogen or whatever. That's not useless science. It is not relevant to herbalism.
Right.
But most of the scientific studies in the United States are being done from the pharmaceutical industry, and they are looking for things that they can extract from herbs, highly concentrate, and then turn into a pill or an injection. And okay, if they're going to do that, they do need to know that if you do that, oops, this one causes cancer, we can't use that. That is actually super important information, but it just isn't relevant to the practice of traditional herbalism.
Right.
If you go into these studies with like a bias that is like, oh, science is stupid, they don't know anything, like whatever, then you'll miss the ones that come up that actually do have relevance to traditional herbalism.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in the case of a calamus, off the top of your head, do you know if that's what they were trying to do? They were trying to create a drug out of calamus root?
I'm not sure where this came from. It could have been like that, or it could have been that there were, some exceptional circumstances that led them to probe into it. In a lot of cases, it's not even based on anything that occurred in the real world. It's just based on, the structure of this molecule is similar to the structure of this other molecule that we're more familiar with. Let's see if it behaves in similar ways or has a similar safety profile.
Gotcha.
That's done pretty regularly, yeah.
But usually, I mean, if you think about why studies get funded, they get funded because somebody is hoping for a return on the investment. How would you get a return on the investment? To try to productize a thing.
Yeah.
So usually, they're looking for novel phytochemicals that they can pharmaceuticalize, which again is not necessarily evil. Like, I think it's not awesome when they're like cutting down 5,000-year-old yew trees. Okay, I think that's a little on the evil side.
Yeah.
But it's not bad or wrong. It just isn't traditional herbalism. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to hear. Sorry, go ahead, Ren.
Just to say that, like, all of these things have a place in the healthcare mosaic, right?
Sure.
Like, sometimes you need people who can knock you out and cut you open and sew you back up. And,
right? I mean, that's not awesome,
put in a new organ and do all kinds of other like fantastical stuff. Completely unimaginable to grandparents of ours who are still alive. All kinds of things, right? It's amazing, but there's also some situations where a very different tool or approach is needed or is more effective. And so we're always looking to not say like herbs are superior to a drug. We're like, well, when is it appropriate? Who is it appropriate for?
Right.
Like that matters way more to me than like which one is like better in some abstract universal sense.
Yeah. I don't like to refer to herbs as tools. Yeah. But you need the tool. You need the tool, the right tool for the job. And occasionally that is, we were just talking earlier about our lovely dog, Elsie, who had to have a tooth removed yesterday. And it got cracked and it got damaged and it was getting rotted and it needed to come out. And
although we could, if we absolutely had to, we could come up with some herbs to calm her down and make her sleep and hope it lasted long enough for us to figure out how to get it out ourselves. We would never want to do that.
Just go with the tool for the job and whatever. Anyway.
That's better for everyone.
Yeah.
I used to volunteer at the Occupy Medical bus back in Eugene, Oregon, and they had nurses and doctors and herbalists and Reiki people, and it was so beautiful to watch everyone kind of coexist and respect each other because they all had different tools on their tool belt. So I was hoping you could kind of chat a little bit more about the herb drug interaction course. Is this like a one-off course, or do you have to be like a full-time student at the CommonWealth Holistic Herbalism School, or can you tell us more about the course in general?
Yeah, absolutely. This course you can take as a one-off. It is available, and it's also part of our clinical herbalist program, which is a series of several courses.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So even if you did all your study at some other school or whatever, but you didn't get really good in-depth herb drug interaction training, then yes, you can take this course. It includes not just all the herb drug interactions that you need to learn, but like all of the methodology of how to keep up with the science yourself so that, we do update our courses every 3 years. And when there's something important, we put it in sooner. And for all of our courses, students get all the updates for free. All of our courses are lifetime access. And anytime we add anything, you just automatically get it. Right. There are always going to be updates, but it's also important that we don't want to just teach you
this course is not a list, right?
Yeah.
It's not like if someone is taking azithromycin, that would interact with these 6 herbs. Like that's
memorize this list and regurgitate it at no.
Boring.
yeah, no. Also, but not helpful, right?
Yeah.
Like people need to learn some principles about what kinds of interactions can occur and how to predict when something like that is likely. But then also what you're talking about is like how to look at the existing evidence we've got from every source that we've got it from and pick out the ones that are relevant to the work that you're going to do with this individual in this case, right?
Right. And sort of starting from a really conservative, like with regard to risk standpoint of, okay, here's how to be the safest possible. And like maybe you are in a situation where you don't have a lot of information about the person. And so you just want to be very risk adverse, all the way down to really nitty gritty. All right, St. John's wort can't be taken if a person's taking pharmaceuticals, but actually, a lot of pharmaceuticals don't interact with St. John's wort. So let's get nitty gritty. Like, would it interact with this one or that one?
How do you check?
What kind of a situation would be a caution situation? What kind of a situation wouldn't? And if you have all the information about a client and enough time to do that work, you might choose to do that work. Whereas if you don't have a lot of time, you might be like, oh, no, I'm going with a different plant right now. And so we try to go through that whole process so that you're able to practice in any kind of environment and feel confident about it.
And there's another layer to this, which has kind of come into a new focus for us in the past year, which is that it's not just about you and the client, because it's, again, also going to be about their other healthcare providers. And so sometimes we'll look at a case and we'll be like, yes, all of the evidence that we've got that's relevant to the work that we're actually doing and not to a petri dish does tell us that this combination of this herb, this preparation, whatever, and that drug should actually be safe. However, their doctor is not going to take the time to look into it with that kind of nuance or be able to read the kind of information sources that we're drawing this conclusion from. And so if they just see that herb and that drug together, they might freak out. And so we could prevent that for this client if we pick a different herb that has the actions and effects and qualities we want, but doesn't have this drug interaction concern. So sometimes that consideration is more important than, no, I'm certain that these enzymes don't affect the, right?
Yeah, we don't really serve the client very well if we set them up for an adversarial situation with their other medical practitioners or their other practitioners who are practicing conventional medicine. And so, like, already it can be complicated to work together as part of a care team. It's great when a person's conventional medical professionals want to do that collaboration work, but some of them are not interested in that. And so if you have that kind of situation and you're trying to serve the client best, then really thinking ahead about like, what am I setting up for this person in terms of just aggravation that they're going to have to deal with? And since there are so many plants, and if you are working from the perspective of energetics and actions, it's really not that complicated to swap in a different plant.
Yeah, or 3 different herbs, and they together combined represent the aspects of that one herb that you're trying to sub in for. Yeah.
So knowing a bit about your work, you guys offer like I want to say like a weekly or a monthly Q&A session. Is this herb drug interaction? Well, it's every week?
Twice a week. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Twice a week. So people that enroll in the herb drug interaction course, are they also available to partake?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. So there's twice a week live Q&A. They're optional. We record all of them. So if you're not available, that's fine. But twice a week for the general student body, twice a month for the international student body that's in their time zone. So that, I mean, they're welcome to stay up to weird times and attend general ones, but we do them in international time zones as well because we have a large international student presence as well. And then the clinical level courses also have an additional set of Q&A for more advanced questions that maybe aren't appropriate for they're a little too nitty gritty for the general Q&A session.
Right.